a first for the country in the history of the Paralympic Games. Bharat bettered its tally from Tokyo Paralympics by 10 medals. We also took the 18th spot in the overall medals tally. Such a proud moment for us, and big shout out to our para-athletes. More than 90% rural households, meanwhile, and 94% urban households are eating fresh fruit throughout the year. This is a significant improvement in availability and affordability due to the advancements in supply chain infrastructure and connectivity throughout the country. A comprehensive analysis of household consumption expenditure survey highlights the biggest improvement amongst the poorest group and the remotest regions, that is the northeastern states. In a first, Made in Bharat iPhone 16 series will be available across the world within the first few days of its launch. Apple is scheduled to unveil the latest range sometime later tonight, and worldwide sales are likely to begin in 10 to 12 days. The Bharat defence market is all set for a 14% annual growth amid the government's indigenization push. The potential market opportunity for Indian defence companies is clearly driven by government's indigenization focus on export opportunity. Bharat's rising focus on self-reliance is fueling order flow and revenue growth for domestic defence companies. Meanwhile, on this edition of The Right Stand, the top focus: how a major train accident was averted in Kanpur and a bid to derail Bharat. This entire plot foiled, unearthed. Is it a pattern, ladies and gentlemen? A gas cylinder placed on the track where Kalindi Express was coming. We'll get you the details in a bit. Our continuing coverage on Manipur. Protests in Imphal West against fresh violence. Security forces had to resort to open, firing, tear gas shells, and of course use of force, and matters went out of hand. Have the forces underestimated the scale of weaponization in the state? Rising tensions have added to the centre's concerns. What does the centre plan to do to check this violence? We decode tonight on The Right Stand. Even as attacks on Hindus continue, the Bangladesh government is giving absolute free run to radicals. We have accessed clinching video evidence on The Right Stand with recent remarks by Mohammed Yunus, the acting leader of this entire temporary regime, calling the attacks exaggerated. It's turning out that the radicals are nothing but arguably state-sponsored. And Bharat readies for unified theatre command. Will this lead to better defence posture? Big question, and we'll have our guests break it down for us in just a bit. But first, the big story, and it is the alertness and sharp focus of the locomotive pilot of the Bhiwani Prayagraj-Kalindi Express that averted a major train accident as the train was brought to a screeching halt after hitting an LPG cylinder. It was placed on the tracks in Kanpur. A bottle of petrol and matchboxes were also recovered from the site, hinting at a deliberate attempt at sabotage. That's what the cops have said. The loco pilot spotted the LPG cylinder on the tracks and applied emergency brakes. The train, despite being in speed, came to a halt, but it did knock the cylinder off. But thankfully, no great damage was done. According to the cops, the incident occurred around 8:20 p.m. on Sunday. The train was running at very high speed. Remember, here on The Right Stand, we had exposed terror mastermind Faratullah Ghori's message to sleeper cells on targeting railways and railway tracks. Bharat's growth engine and perhaps the beacon in terms of connectivity and the advancements that we are getting, and somewhere cause mayhem and social strife by trying to derail our trains and cause mass-scale public damage, not just damage to public property, but also cause of life and limb. Kanpur police are probing all angles. That's the news coming through. Terror angle cannot be ruled out, but the job has been done by an unprofessional. Let's go across to the Commissioner of Kanpur Police, who's with us on the phone line. I'm given to understand Akhil Kumarji is with us. Akhilji, namaste. This is Anand Narsimhan here. Thank you for speaking with us. Your first assessment of what's happened in Kanpur.
Good evening, Anandji. Yesterday this incident has happened and we have taken it very seriously. An FIR has been lodged immediately, and a team consisting of local police, intelligence, and in coordination with sister agencies of UP Police, we are working sincerely to work out the case, and we are looking into all possible angles. We have collected evidences from the spot, and based on the evidences and the clues, we are trying to ascertain who is the person behind this, and we're trying to make progress in our investigation. Hopefully soon we'll able to nab the culprits.
I'm given to understand that this is the first that the Explosives Act has been invoked in this matter.
Since the cylinder was used, the Explosive Act has been also incorporated in the FIR.
But was this an attempt to try and perhaps an amateurish attempt to try and cause a cylinder-based explosion?
So primarily it looks like, but as I said, nothing can be ruled out at this stage. Our primary focus is to identify the culprit, whosoever is behind this incident, and we are taking it very seriously. Our teams are working on it, and once we are able to identify and catch the culprit, we will be able to get to know what is this larger objective and modus operandi.
Is this a group or a lone wolf?
It can't be certain at this stage. It's very premature to say anything on this aspect.
There is a terror angle. Could this be ISIS-inspired, Akhilji, or some other radical organization?
See, as I told you, we can't rule out anything. We are looking at all possibilities. Our priority is to identify this guy in whatever ways, and we are making all possible efforts.
Do you believe it is part of a pattern to try and derail our growth story and also, in a way, damage public property, cause loss of life and limb? We had comments of some radicals across the border trying to incite and suggest that this is one possible way of hurting Bharat.
I mean, the best way to people, organizations, we are looking into the larger picture. I am currently focusing on this particular incident, and hopefully we'll be able to work it out, and we'll inform the agencies who are working on this, and they will be able to give a larger picture on this incident or related incidents.
How close are you to identify the suspect? Is there any witness or any clue that's come to the fore? My final question.
We are working on a positive direction. We have certain clues. We are working on that, and we are making all sincere effort to move to make particular arrests and to identify this culprit.
Akhil Kumarji, thank you for speaking with us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Anandji. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Namaste. Let's go straight across to Maruf Raza, defense analyst, Sushant Sareen, senior fellow ORF with us. Namaste, Jai Hind, gentlemen. This is a pattern, Maruf Raza, and I'm sure you would have noted it. It started about 3-4 months ago, and it just seems to have become intense. And in this belt,
sorry, what's your question?
so I'm asking you, is this a pattern? Would you agree to it that there is a pattern to this, and this is deliberate attempt at sabotage?
See, the fact that explosives, putting it on rail lines, putting, things to derail the trains, these are all old tricks. The point, as far as I see it, is who is behind it to try and put India on the back foot with these kind of activities. And any explosive on a rail track with a fast-moving train would lead to lots of damage and mayhem. Now, why is this happening in India now, and why are people doing it? It's because perhaps our enemies do not like to see India's success story to continue, and they would like to upset the India story. Now, what I see is a problem is that we need to have more elements involved with internal security and monitoring the roads and rail tracks, because internal security is a vast subject, and left only to the police forces of the district or the state is expecting too much from them. What needs to be done is there has to be the use of newer technologies to be adopted to alert us and to monitor such kind of adversities. And that is something that needs to be done in an urgent manner. Second thing is that we need to have enough people on the ground to have feet that can match and monitor the activity of the problem makers. And there we are not short of manpower, but we are short of ideas, we are short of initiatives, and we are short of equipment to make sure that such things don't continue as a matter of course, but we nip them in the bud very, very clearly and very quickly.
Sushant Sareen, agree, disagree? But and how much of our roads and railways can we actually patrol when we don't have enough to even patrol our international borders? So internal security, how do we do this? And especially at a time when there are YouTubers who are making a life out of trying to show how to put objects on the railway tracks and go viral with those kind of videos. And that person also hailed from this region only.
Yeah, if there are those YouTubers, you should get hold of them and, give them the treatment which they deserve. And I don't see any reason why that should be allowed to go, these guys should be allowed to go scot-free. I don't disagree with anything Maroof has said. My only question, however, will be to the national security establishment that, why are we waking up because these incidents have happened in the last 2-3 months? We've been facing terrorism for over 30 years now, 40 years actually. So I think we should have already started putting in place SOPs for these kind of things. Now, as far as the railways are, in the railways in most parts of the country, there is a system whereby there are people who are examining the rails, they are walking alongside it, they're examining the rails, but you can't, how long does it take for somebody to come and put something on the rail track just a few minutes or maybe 10 minutes before a train is to arrive and just leave it out there and then just disappear? It doesn't take very long. The thing is that so far, at least, most of these attempts have been pretty amateurish. They've tried to open up the fish plates, they've tried to do some rail fractures, they've tried to do stuff like that. And thankfully, so far, there haven't been any mass casualty incidents. But I think it's just a matter of time before, we have an incident like that. And maybe that is the time when everybody will start waking up for a couple of days, make a big hoo-ha about it, and then go back to sleep, which is what we normally do. But here is the thing, that these are people who obviously either they are just doing it for the lark, for the fun, to see what happens. Maybe there'll be an explosion. Maybe they think that it is not something which is going to cause a major incident. Or it could be some person who is radicalized, who thinks that by doing something like this, they will be able to put up a show. But quite clearly, these are not well-trained people. These are not people who know how to handle explosives or how to rig up IEDs or how to do stuff like that. Again, that's not rocket science. It doesn't take much to learn stuff like that. Or for somebody to come and give instructions to do something like that. Which is why, as Maroof is saying, what is happening with your local level intelligence? What is happening with your beat guys? Are they able to keep a look out on what the buzz in a particular area is, what the vibe in a particular area is? Are they even looking at that? Or are they simply ignoring something like that, and it's only after an incident that they start waking up and start doing stuff?
Right.
Or until and unless you get somebody on your radar screens because of tech int that you start pursuing a lead. I think rather than that, and I suppose that is exactly what Maroof is also suggesting, you should have people on the ground, somebody with an ear to the ground, somebody who's listening to what is the kind of conversations which are going on, what is the kind of stuff which is happening in local areas, and then trying to piece the whole thing together to make a picture of what might transpire. So yes, we are going to be living in even worse times than what we are living in right now. The threats are only, they are not reducing. The technologies of terrorists, the technologies available to terrorists are becoming more accessible than what they have been. And until your security agencies they rise up to the task and they stay a couple of steps ahead, you just keep your fingers crossed that you're not in a train or a plane or on the road when something like this happens. That's all you can wish for.
Well, the other thing is that are they also saying that we have to cause damage? We don't need to need for it to be sophisticated. We just need individual agents, individuals who are perhaps radicalized, influenced, disgruntled, however it is, and they create instances like this across the country. 5 instances is far greater damage than a series of terror attacks, and it just gets the objective because it creates a sense of panic, fear. People will stop traveling on trains, and then again there'll be huge brouhaha. It'll lead and it'll have a domino effect somewhere. These are all thoughts. This is all building up to a greater strategy of orchestrating social strife, create a huge amount of social, I don't want to say the word anarchy, but that's what comes to my mind. Maru, final comment before we move to Manipur. Yeah.
See, Anand, Sushant has put a lot of points ahead, and they're all correct. The point at issue is that a thumb rule of triple P is always to be followed. That is prepare, preempt, and prevent. And we have to be doing it all the time. It doesn't mean because it's not happened in the last few weeks, it's not going to happen. It's going to keep coming on us, and we have to continue to be able to respond to every situation, because we are a country which is constantly under threat. We are surrounded by neighbors who are very happy to create mayhem in our setup. And I'm sorry to say that our intelligence agencies and our officials, security officials, they are not exactly on the go as far as dealing with threats, because dealing with threats is an everyday affair.
Yes.
You can't wait for a bomb blast to happen and for the alarm signals to go out. Okay, let's get going. We have to be constantly ready to block every effort that comes our way. And there are simple rules. What are the vulnerable targets? How do you protect them? What forces level do you need? You don't need massive armored car and tank columns to prevent every crisis. You need basically just your forces need to be trained and alert. And communication between all of them should be very high. And therefore, anything that is unusual cited. The problem is that the police and the security forces are very tired and exhausted. And therefore, they are not going to go an extra step forward to try and close the loop.
I think 2-3 aspects that you've spoken about, and both of you have spoken about, is true. That we need focus on internal security. The 3 P's are preempt, prevent, and protect. The other aspect is, do we have enough people on ground between intelligence agencies, police, and all of them? Are there enough? We don't. So that's the reason why they are stretched, and there is no creative thinking that's happening. And most importantly, it's not integrated, sir. Everybody is not talking to everybody, and everybody is not listening to everybody. Unless it's integrated, there will be issues where you will have isolated pockets or weekends, and the chain is only as strong as the weakest link. Let's move on, gentlemen. We've got a lot of ground to cover, and this is again another internal security issue, and a big one, ladies and gentlemen. Fresh bout of violence has sparked widespread concern among residents, especially after 5 people were killed in Jiribam district on the 7th of September, where prohibitory orders are in place. According to the cops, militants entered a person's home, shot him dead in his sleep. Following the murder, a heavy exchange of fire broke out between members of the warring communities, leading to deaths of 4 armed men. Now, did this protest rally actually go uncontrolled? That's another big question. Have a look at this. We are getting exclusive visuals of how security forces were forced to open fire during a protest that spun out of control in Manipur's Imphal West district. There are, however, no reports of fatalities. Visuals show how forces actually resorted to open firing to control the protests in which thousands had taken part. The torch rally was carried out by a large group of people who were protesting against the escalating violence that has engulfed this strife-torn state in the last few weeks. Also, the government itself is concerned over the rising tensions in Manipur. Tensions in Manipur have been escalating every passing day. While Kuki militants carried out drone attacks, killing civilians, the Meiteis are also keen on responding and they want to retaliate equally strongly, leading to more violence. And amid rising tensions, finding common ground for talks is turning out to be a huge task for the agencies, with both the Kukis and the Meiteis caught in a very, very aggressive posture. They want this resolved one way or the other in their favor. Both sides have this position. Sources have said that the government wants all-round talks, security is key, and is keen to start this entire healing process as soon as possible. The biggest concern for both the groups are getting far more aggressive towards the balkanization of the state, and the Union of India has been trying to resist this for a while, especially from the Kukis. Now the Meiteis are saying that throw them out, they don't belong here, these are all our places, mark it out. The Kukis are saying all of this has been part of the erstwhile Kuki country, which he put out the other day as George Grimmerson had laid out in 1904 in the British map in the erstwhile British regime. Now, the government is worried that due to the possible drug and foreign funding, weapons are also available to these groups in huge numbers with good sophisticated technology. The claim of a foreign hand in the use of weaponized drones may be true, but the seizure of 10 high-end batteries for use in drones in Guwahati in June was an important action by the Assam police and indicated that drones were going into the northeast region in big numbers. Sources have also said that the Kukis now are employing advanced tactics, such as drone strikes, clearly to showing that the state's loss of control over its own security setup. Quote, in this case, the state must take measures to have sufficient jammers for drones and even use mortars and other devices to ensure that such aerial attacks don't happen again. Unquote. A top intelligence source while speaking to Manoj Gupta, our security affairs editor. Sushant Sareen, your understanding of Manipur, as I welcome Dr. Ankita Datta is also with us. Thank you for joining us as Sushant Sareen, Maruf Raza take the conversation forward. Have our forces actually underestimated the level of weaponization in the state? Sushant Sareen.
Anand, I don't think it's only the forces who have done it. I think it's the entire political establishment which has mishandled Manipur for almost a year now, more than a year actually. We thought, okay, fine, there's been an upsurge of violence and things will finally settle down, little realizing that was just a kind of a recess in the hostilities, because nobody has actually addressed or tried to address the situation in the state. And everybody thought, okay, fine, it's kind of burnt itself out. But I think both your report, as it suggests, and I think it's quite intuitive, that a lot of drug running, a lot of gun running, a lot of other stuff is getting mixed up in what's happening in Manipur. There are ethnic factors, there are religious factors, all kinds of things. You have a country on your border, which is Myanmar, which is like spiraling out of control. Somebody should have woken up to how to handle a border state. It's a sensitive border state. It has never been in the best of conditions. Things had started stabilizing and then suddenly everything goes up in smoke. Secondly, Anand, we were discussing this in the earlier part of the program. Look, it doesn't take a rocket scientist again to rig up a drone and use it for these kind of things. We've seen it all over the place. Now, at what point of time will the security establishment start anticipating what could happen rather than reacting to what has happened? This seems to have become the standard operating procedure, that you wait for something to happen before you start, moving forward on what my friend Maruf was talking about, the 3 Ps. These 3 Ps should have been anticipated, right? And then I think the only one thing he missed out was, what about punishing people who cross the line? There doesn't seem to be any punishment involved. There is no retribution on people who step out of line. But the matter remains, Anand, that we are in a situation where you have Myanmar, you have Bangladesh, which is disturbed, where terrorists have been released by the government in Bangladesh, who are openly threatening to create murder and mayhem in India's northeast. and Manipur, where you already have a kind of destabilization having taken place. You already have a situation which is like not entirely under control. If you can have rocket attacks in the capital, and you can have all kinds of other things happening, then clearly the situation is not under control. Now you can put any lipstick you want to put over a pig and call it whatever you want to call it, but it remains a pig. That's what the situation is. So look, let's face it. We need to work both on the political side. We need to work on the security side. And again, one doesn't need to be a political science genius to say what is obviously staring everybody in the face. The fact that you have not managed to do it, the fact that you continuously pushed everything under the carpet and pretend that everything is hunky-dory, it has a very bad habit of coming back to bite us. It is biting us right now. So I think the situation is certainly not under control. Anybody who tells you otherwise is speaking through his hat.
Right.
It's not under control. We need to get a firmer control, and we need somebody to start investing some time on this particular problem and trying to sort it out with whatever means required, both
Ankita,
kinetic as well as political.
Okay, Ankita ji, before I bring in Maruf ji. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Yes, namaste everyone. The situation right now in Manipur, it has become all the more worse, and after using drones, as they all have seen, to attack local Hindu villagers, Houthis began using rockets. And I would like to mention one important thing here, that the usage of drones in Manipur is not new. It was used first in January 2024 itself, when 4 farmers, when they were working in the fields, they were killed. This was near Kumbi village. They were killed by sophisticated surveillance drones. They were first spotted by using drones, then they were ambushed and later murdered. And this news of the receipt of Kuki militant groups, that Kuki militant groups had paid a huge amount of rupees 3,90,000 to the ITLF. That is the Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum, combat drone department of the ITLF, after it had procured drones and other weapons, supposedly from Israel, had gone viral in November last year itself. And now these cookies they are using local news channels in places like Kanpur to instigate their youth openly to open social media accounts and carry out a narrative war in social media. We should understand how they have been able to cause so much damage, mainly because of the defensive posture adopted by the government at this time, and also by our security forces, which is allowing these cookies to create small but yet heavily armed groups and open fire in selected locations, cause the maximum damage possible, and also get away with it. So India's defensive response will certainly not be viable any longer without overwhelming. We need overwhelming military operations using concentric fields of circle in the hills, and for that, the Indian state need not simply. It doesn't mean simply taking action against the cookies, because they also have to take care of a certain section of the society in Manipur with leftist leanings and who have vested interests in keeping Manipur on the boil, because they will be taking advantage of any operation. These people will be taking advantage of any military operation being undertaken by the government of India for furthering their own agenda, and they will do everything possible to subvert any such operation. Also, regarding the recent rocket attacks, you see, these manufacturing of rockets, especially ramjet powered rockets at a distance beyond 9 kilometers, rocket launchers, guns, these were all done in local factories. And this was known in Manipur for a long time now. In fact, reports related to these activities were circulating last year itself. I have been working on this. So there are many things. So rocket attacks are not at all a surprise, and in addition to drones and rockets, there are snipers, there are heavy machine guns, gas-powered machine guns, and so many other dangerous weapons such as these M203 grenade launchers, which are exclusively used by the US Army. And Kuki militants have been photographed holding these weapons in pride. This is a tremendous threat to our national security. The militants have openly threatened.
What it also, if you're saying you've been studying this since the last year, Sushant Sareen mentioned it's happening over the last year. So has this peacetime and this whole thing been done, has been used by certain agencies and certain entities in Manipur, Maruf Raza, to weaponize and arm themselves to the teeth so that they can go all guns blazing? There are 3-4 levels of threats. One is this ethnic strife. Second is this growing calls for balkanization of the state. Third is the moment this balkanization happens, there will be the secession angle which will come into play given Bangladesh, Mizoram, Kuki-Chin region, and we've spoken about that too, and we know these calls are being made in Bangladesh also. So, is there a serious misstep here? And also within the force there seems to be a division. I don't want to say it out openly, but there seems to be a division and some entities seem to be taking sides this way or the other.
Well, you know, the central point to understand is that we tend to react only when we are hit smack on our faces. We do not respond to a situation with an aggressive, firm hand when the situation begins to spill out of control. Second thing is that we have to be clear that any effort to destabilize a region or a portion of India, there has to be a foreign element in it, because a foreign element is something that is going to benefit gravely from the unsettled scenario in a part where this fighting and firing is taking place. The third important aspect is that the Northeast has been in the eye of the storm for at least 40-45 years. I mean, the cookie problem was known to us when I was in the army and I was serving there in the 70s and 80s. And we were just letting it roll away, saying, oh, even this will pass away. These things don't pass away. You have to nip them in the bud, and you have to have a very firm policy how to deal with them, how to clip the situation from not going any further out of control. And what we are seeing, the politicians in the Northeast in particular are kind of quite happy to let the crowds and the situation run in a manner that is creating havoc and mayhem. You know, for political gains, we have repeatedly put India's interests to shame. And I've done a lot of work on this. And I've done my master's dissertation at Cambridge on this internal low-intensity conflict situation. We are not going to address it unless we are not going to address it in a really firm hand. We are going to continue to shoot a few pigeons in the darkness and think that we've achieved anything. Our security forces need to understand that there is a narrative they need to be aware of and how to deal with it. The second thing is that when you confront these elements, you have to be prepared to go the next step forward to put an alternate narrative in place. We are doing nothing. I'm seeing this cookie issue in the air for the last 2-3 years, and we're only talking about it. What are we doing about it? And the third and most important thing is that once we encircle the area where there is a problem, then we need to place an embargo on any cross-border activities that will happen inside Indian territory, with the elements within here and the foreign hand, whether it is China, whether it is Myanmar, whether it's anybody. We cannot allow the foreign hand to derail the idea of India.
True, but someone somewhere has to be wise enough, should have known this all along, and they've allowed this to fester. Like you said, you got to nip a problem in the bud, otherwise it grows, and eventually it festers. That's what that's what happens. We got some serious issues. So Shanji, yes, we got to move on to Bangladesh, but yes, you put your hand up, so please, quickly.
Very quick. So Anand, what we are facing in the northeast, we are facing, right? But let me give you a counter example. Let's look at the west of India. Let's look at Punjab, for example. We know for the last 10 years what's been happening, 15 years what's been happening in Punjab.
Right.
We have been saying that, look, things are going out of control. Now, tomorrow, let us imagine a scenario. Pakistan starts spiraling out of control, becomes uncontrollable. What do you think is going to happen in Punjab? Let's just assume Pakistan becomes a Myanmar-like situation, right? What will happen in Punjab? Have we prepared for it? Or are we sleeping? We have a government in both the center as well as in the state, which is sleeping, which is somnolent, which are all profiting from what is happening in Punjab. Has anybody tried to crack down on the drug mafia out there, and a sincere crackdown? Has anybody tried to crack down on the rising radicalism in Punjab? Has anybody tried to address any of these issues? Has anybody tried to, we keep talking about let's do development, let's do Vikas. What Vikas has happened? Every second person in Punjab is, packing his bags and leaving. What are we talking about? So, are we anticipating what might happen in Punjab? Are we preparing for it? So that, God forbid, if it happens, you're ready. Or are you going to say, oh hell, it's happened, now let's try and
let it happen, होने दो फिर देखा जाएगा. Now that cannot be, because उस वक्त फिर आप देखते रह जाएंगे, होगा कुछ नहीं. And this issue of drugs is somewhere central to all areas which are seeing strife. Drugs and illicit weapons are somewhere central to all areas in our country which are seeing strife. Have to move on to the lady and the gentleman. Please stay on with us, because again, this is neighboring India, but it is an important aspect which concerns Bharat, especially in this region, ladies and gentlemen. Are these radicals which are right now having some moment in the sun, open, free run in Bangladesh, are they state sponsored? Is the question that we're asking. Why? Because there are extremist elements, designated terrorist elements in Bangladesh who have now been let out, and they are forcefully taking Hindus even from the hands of the police and have been trying to lynch them. While the chief advisor to the Bangladesh's interim government, Mohammad Yunus, has accused Bharat of exaggerating attacks on Hindus and called largely all of these political and nothing communal about it, several videos have emerged showing otherwise, quite the otherwise. Now, this is a video from the 4th of September, just ahead of the murder of this youth, Utsav Mondal, in the Sonadanga police station of Khulna, who was detained over tension following a cricket match. The video shows how some people came and asked for his custody, which the cops refused initially but gave in to the pressure later on and handed him over, following which he was lynched. Then, another video. Another video has emerged from the 7th of September, where at least 27 Hindu individuals from the 2nd ward of Kalmati in Khuniagach Union, Lalmo Nirhat Sadar Upazila, they were misled with incorrect interpretation of religion, threatened with forced emigration or death, and were made to join the Jamaat-e-Islami. Forced religious conversion material were provided, and signatures were taken on various forms. The chief guest at the event was the Assistant Secretary of the Jamaat-e-Islami of that district, Lalmo Nirhat district branch. Hafiz Muhammad Shah Alam was present there. The 12th article of Jamaat's constitution was read to them during the event, after which they were sworn in according to the non-Muslim oath under Appendix 11 of the constitution. There have been other videos that have surfaced where Hindus have been asked to cut off their thread or janeyu. Women have to wipe off their bindi and take off their Mangal Sutra before they were even given aid in flood affected areas. In this video from the 7th of September, a Maulana Liaquat Ali could be seen openly saying that those who worship idols were kafir, non-believers, kufr. He could be seen threatening Hindus living in the Satla Nagarkand region of the Upazila of Faridpur district in the division of Dhaka, saying that his Muslim community would not even need an hour to gulp down all the Hindus living in that area. He could also be seen mentioning that any Muslim who's in favor of breaking down the statues of Hindu gods and goddesses has Iman, which means Islamic moral. But the Muslims who are not in favor of breaking these statues are ones devoid of Islamic Iman and will be punished. Maruf Raza?
Well, the thing is that whenever there is instability, communal tensions certainly take a high ground, and people exploit the differences and use that to get more and more people to join the rabble-rousers. But the fact of the matter is that all this, my bigger question is, why was it lying unexploited all these years in Bangladesh? There was no communal fire of this nature just suddenly come into the being with Sheikh Hasina's going away. She was not such a strong man or a strong woman that she could contain all this anti-minority sentiment. And she has now, of course, gone, and Bangladeshis are baying for her blood. But I think the problem is also caretaker Prime Minister Muhammad Yunus is not showing a firm hand in dealing with the challenges. He doesn't seem a strong man. No doubt he's an exceptionally capable economist. But has he put his firm hand down? And the army and the police in Bangladesh, they've become just watchers of the confusion that continues to prevail. Bangladesh must remember that they were themselves subjected to what the Pakistan army had put them through before they became free.
Right.
Are they going to allow themselves to repeat the genocide that was there in their country because they were looking at independence and India's support? Anand, there's a point I repeat again and again.
Gee.
India must take a more proactive stance, and India must take a firm stance to say that India will not tolerate any kind of pressure on the minorities. This is a point I've made again and again. India's, at the time of Bangladesh's independence, India's military commanders said so to the elements that were there, that we must guarantee the protection of the minorities. But our great bureaucracy did nothing about it, waved their hands and said it'll all be settled down. And it's not settling down. So I think India should, there's no need for India's foreign ministry and intelligence agencies to just wait and watch, but give a very clear signal to Bangladesh that you've got this week to sort things out and ensure the protection of minorities, or India will send a peacekeeping force, a peace enforcement force, and will ensure that people are protected.
But
why aren't we doing it?
No, but the problem there is at this point, Ankita Datta, that the Jamaat-e-Islami is being openly endorsed by the likes of the Chinese envoy. China has openly come out. America is openly endorsing Muhammad Yunus, and they're getting a free run. Ansarullah Bangla's chief has been allowed, and they come out as a big procession and they make announcements, and they're making different kinds of announcements and huge threats that they are making. So the far right in Bangladesh and the far right extremist groups in Bangladesh are getting a free run on the streets. That's what's witnessed. There are other videos which are unconfirmed where flood relief was being promised only after they convert.
Ridiculous. So what I'm saying is
Maruf, just
that-
bringing in Ankita Datta and Sushant Sari, and then I'll come back to you, Maruf. Yes, Ankita Datta.
Yes, Anandji, so when you're mentioning about the role of China, yes, China's role in so these are all interconnected, whatever is happening. And the role of China in stoking disturbances in the Northeast, yes, of course, it has been rightly called out, but the role of the US-backed churches and the American deep state in the ongoing unrest in Manipur, in Bangladesh and Myanmar, it has not received enough attention from the Indian think tanks and policymakers. The main question is, whose geopolitical interests would be served if parts of the Northeast and Myanmar are carved into multiple volatile Christian ethnic states? Who is going to be likely pitted against one another in the ensuing state of affairs? So these are important questions that we need to ponder upon, and we also should not forget that in the recent violence in Manipur, not just Meitei Hindus but Meitei Christians were also not spared by the Kuki militants. And when I'm talking about Bangladesh, see, for several years these missionaries, Christian missionaries, in collaboration with Western NGOs, they have been secretly working in the border areas of Bangladesh, India and Myanmar, such as Khagrachari, Rangamati, Arakan province of Myanmar, etc. Their objective is to convert the local Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists and ethnic minorities into Christianity, so that the ground can be prepared for a Christian of lands belonging to India, Bangladesh and Myanmar. There have been several Christian missionary publications which have been carrying out a well-orchestrated propaganda campaign peddling false narratives of Christian persecution in these border areas, and they have even attempted to connect the tribal population of Bangladesh, India and Myanmar by stating that these Chin, Kuki, Mizo language speakers are one people, and today they speak related but distinct Tibeto-Burman languages. And at present, the KCNF, which is the Kuki Chin National Front, it is the fastest growing extremist organization in Chittagong and the adjoining areas. It maintains close ties with the Jamatul Ansar, the Sharkia group, and also other like-minded groups operating in Mizoram, the Rakhine state of Myanmar, Manipur and Bangladesh. And
Right.
see, due to their ethnic homogeneity, it is easy for the militant groups like KCNF to derive support by influencing people from across the border. And to fill up their ranks, they recruit young men and women from different Chin Kuki language speaking communities in the Chittagong region of Bangladesh.
Right.
And the four major tribes which are non-Christian, the indigenous Chakma, Marma, Tripura and Tanchangya people, who are largely Hindus and Buddhists, they are regarded as outsiders. And it uses the Jamatul Ansar for spreading terror-related activities within these hilly areas of Bangladesh and Myanmar, and
Right.
as well as the Arakan state of Myanmar, to achieve their real agenda of establishing a separate Christian state by disintegrating lands belonging
Right.
to
Sushant.
these three countries.
Yeah, Anand, so I don't disagree with anything Ankita has said. My question again is to my security establishment. Are we such innocent babes in the wood that we did not know all of this is happening? We knew about it. What were we doing about it? Nothing. Look, in a place in the northeast, places like Manipur and all, when a person who joins the IAS or the IPS, the moment he gets allotted a Manipur or a Tripura cadre, he acts as though his life has come to an end. When you have these kind of jokers joining your civil services, what do you expect to happen in states like this? How serious do you expect administration to play a role out there? One. Secondly, you knew all of this is happening. Is the state of India, are the agencies of India so powerless that they cannot counter this, they cannot put up counter forces? Number three, we are actually, we talk a lot about Chanakya Niti, Kautilya, this, that, we talk a lot. What do we do on the ground? So yes, Sheikh Hasina was a good friend, no doubt about it. We could have had some problems with her, she had some problems with us. But just because you are good friends, so the Americans claim they're very good friends of ours, but
Right.
they let their evangelists and all kinds of other missionaries come in and do mischief out here. What prevents India from developing such leverages in its her neighborhood? Whether it's in Myanmar, whether it's in Bangladesh, whether it's in
Right.
Nepal, whether it's in any of the other countries, why can't we do it? Why is it always that when all hell breaks loose, we act as though we are the victims, that we did not know what is going to happen? Does a serious country with pretensions of being a superpower behave like this? Is this the way you manage national security? It's ridiculous the way we keep cribbing all the time, yaar. It's about time we go and kick some backsides of some
No,
people.
not just that. It's about time we walk the talk. Those who talk about going back to our ancient wisdom, knowledge of our scriptures and all of that, the conversation between Bhishma and Yudhishthira is something that should be as wrote and written in front of every policy maker in our country, especially those dealing with internal security and governance. Because that very clearly says you have to always understand what your enemy is doing, and you need to nip things in the bud rather than allow them to fester and grow. Thank you very much. I have to wind up on that note. I've really run out of time. It's been a very engaging session. Thank you very much, Ankita Datta, Sushant Sareen and Maruf Raza. Short break. Stay with us.
Basis, and that most of the vice chancellors indeed have a background of the RSS. He praises China, says that it is dominating the global production and has no unemployment issue in their country. He has also taken a jibe at the Devta comment. He said that Devta in India actually means a person whose internal feelings are exactly the same as his external expression, meaning he is a completely transparent being. It does not mean God. Listen in to what the leader of opposition actually said.
The RSS believes that India is one idea. And we believe that India is a multiplicity of ideas. We believe that everybody should be allowed to participate. We believe that everybody should be allowed to dream. Everybody should be given space, regardless of their caste, language, religion, tradition, history. This is the fight. And the fight was crystallized in the election, when millions of people in India clearly understood that the Prime Minister of India is attacking the Constitution of India.
Gandhi and the Congress party have made it clear that their only objective is to spread falsehood against India. Their objective is divide and rule, and their loyalties lie with China because of the secret MOU that the Congress party had with the Communist Party of China. The world is aware that how China is facing a youth unemployment crisis and India is emerging as a global manufacturing hub. Rahul does not stop here. He predicts social tensions in India because the Congress party might be planning something big in its strategy of dividing communities in India. He attacks the Indian judicial system and the legal system just because he's out on bail, and he attacks the Hindu Sanatan concept of Devta. This has made it clear that Rahul Gandhi and the entire India alliance, in order for their attempt to grab power, can go to any extent to damage Bharat. They were rejected in 2014, they were rejected in 2019, and they were rejected in 2024, and they will be rejected in 2029. Rahul's speech is against everything that India and Bharat stands for.
So Devta in India actually means a person whose internal feelings are exactly the same as his external expression. Meaning he is a completely transparent being. Right? It does not mean God. So if this person tells me every single thing that he believes or he thinks, and he tells it to me, that's the definition of Devta. So to me, that is interesting about our politics. How do you suppress your own ideas? Right? How do you suppress your own fear, or how do you suppress your own greed, or how do you suppress your own ambition?
Our senior editor Pallavi Ghosh is joining us live on the broadcast. Pallavi, a very good morning to you. This Rahul Gandhi and his connection with China has been much debated already, with BJP continuously mounting an attack on him. This time around, this new comment coming in over the unemployment challenge in China and in India has given us an added on, sort of point for the BJP to mount an attack on the leader of the opposition.
That's right, Sakshi, because, he was especially talking to students in Dallas, and he was talking in the context of skills, he was talking in the context of education. And that's when he made that comparison to China, saying that in stark contrast, China does not have this kind of an unemployment issue, even though India has better skill facilities. Well, of course, it's going to stoke, and I think it's already begun to, as far as comments on China is concerned. And not just this, I mean, in the past also, when he said that China is stronger than us economically in terms of military, caliber, and also the fact that he met up with the Chinese ambassador at the time of the Galwan controversy was taking place. The BJP has begun to attack Rahul Gandhi and accused him of actually being the one who's compromising on the idea of India.
Climate change is on our doorstep. It's time for a revolution to take root. And it starts with 1.4 billion Indians. It starts with one tree. One tree for humanity. One tree for Mother Earth. One tree for our future. Project One Tree, a News 18 network initiative.
Co-powered by and integrity, and making comments, especially when you're abroad. When you run down your own country, and I'm using the words of the BJP, according to BJP, when you run down your own country and govern on a foreign soil, you are, one, painting a very incorrect and wrong picture about your country. And second, you only end up emboldening our enemies across the border.
RP Singh ji joining us on the broadcast. Mr. RP Singh, thank you so much for speaking to us. What would be your thought about this particular statement coming in from the leader of the opposition with regards to the unemployment challenge faced by China and then by India? He said that China certainly is not facing any such problem with that heavy population, but India is still facing it.
Well, that clearly shows that the document which he signed with the China Communist Party of China, he still goes by that line of the China, where he always praises China and demeans India. But the fact is that he doesn't know that today women are being employed under the Lakpati scheme of the Prime Minister, where drone Didi are being made in every village, and then technology is being used by the Prime Minister Modi's scheme, where women are being employed. But that point aside, the biggest issue which he has raised, which we are missing on, is that he is saying that India is not a nation. He still, Mr. Even Sam Praduda, they are talking about that India is Union of States, as if India has been created after 1947. The fact is, India has been a nation thousands of years, 5,000, 10,000 years. But they keep reiterating that India is Union of States. And they are not aware that the Pandals from Kerala go to Badrinath, or Pandals from Karnataka goes to Kedarnath, or Pandals from Chennai, Tamil Nadu goes to Kashi Vishwanath. Maharaja Ranjit Singh, he offered gold to Harimandir in Amritsar and also to Kashi Vishwanath. So India has been one nation throughout, but they don't accept that India has been a nation. India has been culturally one nation, and that we believe in. That the ideology of BJP is that India has been a culturally one nation. And the language which Mr. Rahul Gandhi speaks, or his fellows speak, that India is Union of States, the same language is being used by Khalistani Amritpal Singh. He also said that India is Union of States, so we as a state has a separate right to identify and decide our future course of action. So that's the problem, that they don't want India to be seen as one cultural nation.
Right, Mr. Singh. Thank you so much for speaking to CNN News 8. Well, Rahul has stoked a fresh row during his visit to the US, Dallas specifically. In a big attack at the RSS, Rahul Gandhi claimed that the RSS and BJP have hijacked the education system of India on ideological basis, and that most of the vice chancellors indeed have a background of the RSS. He praises China, says that it is dominating the global production and has no unemployment issue in their country. He has also taken a jibe at the Devta comment. He said that Devta in India actually means a person whose internal feelings are exactly the same as his external expression, meaning he is a completely transparent being. It does not mean God. Listen in to what the leader of opposition actually said.
The RSS believes that India is one idea. And we believe that India is a multiplicity of ideas. We believe that everybody should be allowed to participate. We believe that everybody should be allowed to dream. Everybody should be given space, regardless of their caste, language, religion, tradition, history. This is the fight. And the fight was crystallized in the election, when millions of people in India clearly understood that the Prime Minister of India is attacking the Constitution of India.
Gandhi and the Congress party have made it clear that their only objective is to spread falsehood against India. Their objective is divide and rule, and their loyalties lie with China because of the secret MOU that the Congress party had with the Communist Party of China. The world is aware that how China is facing a youth unemployment crisis and India is emerging as a global manufacturing hub. Rahul does not stop here. He predicts social tensions in India because the Congress party might be planning something big in its strategy of dividing communities in India. He attacks the Indian judicial system and the legal system just because he's out on bail, and he attacks the Hindu Sanatan concept of Devta. This has made it clear that Rahul Gandhi and the entire India alliance, in order for their attempt to grab power, can go to any extent to damage.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zakir Jacob. Leader of the opposition Rahul Gandhi is on a visit to the United States. He spoke in Dallas, Texas, and among some of the controversial things he said was trying to explain the meaning of the word Devta. He said it has nothing to do with God. He said it's about somebody who has both internal and external peace. He also said that China does not have an unemployment problem, unlike India or even America for that matter. He also said that the RSS does not believe in promoting women leaders, and he thinks that RSS